I want to give you a little insight into his world and what he has achieved. I mean, building a school and a hostel in his village of Batase is just part of it. Now, since 2007, I'm sure many of you have been involved at various points over those years with Friends of Himalayan Children, supporting them, helping children go to school in Batase and other remote villages of Nepal. And as Som says in the book, it's been, and this is amazing and you'll read this in the book, it has been many years since a girl was trafficked from Batase, and it's all thanks to Som. Amazing. So, please welcome the founder of Friends of Himalayan Children, and one hell of a human, the man who has saved a generation in Nepal, Som Tamang. And the woman who took on this incredible task of writing his story, award-winning journalist and businesswoman, Kirsty Nancarrow. Now, I just wanted to read a little bit of Som's book.
Here we go. All right. So it says it's now going to be a campfire story. There we go.
All right. I won't shout.
Okay, as I was saying, back to the book. This is kind of how things start in the book. Beyond the capital in Nepal's mountain communities, people watched in horror as the earthquake triggered a devastating string of landslides and avalanches along the Himalayan range. Each one came with a sickening crack, followed by the roar of tons of earth descending at speed. For Som Tamang, an unimaginable loss was unfolding in his village of Batase, high in the hills to the northeast of Kathmandu. In just a few moments, his life's work had been reduced to rubble. The Nepalese Australian had come from nothing. He'd overcome child slavery and crippling poverty to make a new life for himself in Australia and ensure Batase's children would not have to suffer as he did. He fought so hard to give children access to education in his village, but now the school was gone. The hostel built by Som's humanitarian organisation, Friends of Himalayan Children, rendered uninhabitable. Another hostel Som had bought with his own money, so older students could continue their secondary education in a village several hours away, also disappeared in a cloud of dust. Millions of Nepalese, including most of Som's community, were now homeless. His campaign to stop human trafficking and end child marriage had been dealt a huge blow. How could he possibly come back from this? So begins Himalayan Dreams. It's quite a beginning. Kirsty, why did you want to do this? What prompted this decision to say, I'm going to write Som's story?
We started in a very good place, Fiona. The earthquake. This is how I met Som. About 2 days after it happened, it happened on the 25th of April, which everyone knows in Australia is Anzac Day. And I went to work at the ABC on the Monday morning, saw the front page photo that Brendan had taken of Som, talking about the loss from the earthquake of an Australian and a Cairns citizen. And I reached out to Som to see if he might be available to do an interview for the ABC. So that's where it all began. And I didn't know of Som before, or the Friends of Himalayan Children, but I soon became very invested in the work that he did and the effort that he was going back to Nepal, the mammoth effort that this man, who thought, he could just go back and help. And I was very inspired by that. And as the months rolled on and I kept checking in with him, I thought, I really am really interested in him. And he doesn't give much away about his own personal circumstances. No. So I know from covering lots of natural disasters that there's usually an outpouring of support straight after, and that there tends to, as more time passes, it tends to be forgotten. So really I wanted to help, but I waited until about 18 months later, by which time we'd started sponsoring the first of 3 girls through Friends of Himalayan Children to go and volunteer in Som's village. And I was spending a month teaching there that I just thought, wow, what he's been able to achieve for these children, the impact that education is having on all of these young lives. I need to tell this story, and it needs to be beyond the Cairns community. It needs to be something that everyone in the world can know about. So the best way of doing that, I thought, was a book. So that's how it started.
Thank you. And for you, Som, how does it feel? I mean, what was your response when Kirsty said, hey, I want to write your story?
Yeah, it was, I don't know, it was really, I was pretty excited, I would say. And before I started my charity journey, I met Susan, and she made me read. She told me reading is good. So I can improve my English, and someone actually bought me one book. It's called 3 Cups of Tea by John Wood. And I read that book. Somebody actually bought me the book because they heard my story, and this guy said, this is you need to read. And this guy, John Mortenson, I think, and there's so much stories, and it seems impossible to complete, but then it says in the book it's complete, and I read all of that, and I said, if he's completed this many schools in very short time, surely I can do one school. So that's where my mind was, and sure enough, I started the journey as soon as about 2007-8, the charity got registered. And long story short and sad, that 3 cups of tea became 3 cups of deceased. So it's no longer, it was never true. I was like, I shouldn't find out, but I found out anyway, most recently. But the work, knowing the story and knowing background, all of that kind of thing, and knowing what's going around in the village, no matter what other people are doing, I just realized I have to do what I want to do, which is to create an environment for the kids to be able to school. So that's what is continued. And again, it's not myself, it's all of you. Most of you, a lot of you here has been in this journey from very beginning. So I started at Rusty's Market. So
yes. So you grew up in a very traditional village, in a very traditional house, with very traditional parents. Your roles, yourself and your siblings, was pretty well mapped out. The boys maybe might get to school, certainly not the girls. They were destined for early marriage, and all of you pretty much destined for a life of poverty and hard yakka out in the fields, tending animals and crops. Where did you come from? Like, how did you, just grow up thinking, no, I don't accept that. I am going to turn the status quo on its head.
That's a very big question. I think I was identified as an unusual child in the family. I had to always do something if I knew it was not going to harm anyone and if it was the right thing to do. And I know that a lot of neighborhood parents have sent their daughters to India and brought a lot of new clothes and a lot of money. And I always heard my mom that, she wishes if she had the daughter to bring. And somehow, even I was young, 8, 9 years old, I knew that what they're bringing wasn't really good. I knew something was not really great. So because of that, and then most of the boys were getting married, and my mom always worried about being married. It's big money, as it's always here is now what people spend $500,000 over there. Big weddings, I'm talking about in the village. It's maybe back in those days it might be $100 worth, but it would be like $500,000 for you here. And I just said, most of this story will be in the book, And I just said, that's not gonna be me. So I just packed up. That's it. Life changed forever.
Kirsty, for the book, you spoke to a lot of people. You spoke to members of Som's family, people who've been with him on this journey, volunteers with Friends of Himalayan Children, people he's met through his life, even some very well-known Australian actors who supported Som in those early days. What was it that everyone you spoke to was telling you about Som?
Thankfully, lots, because this man doesn't give much away.
No.
It's very challenging to write a biography for somebody who really doesn't think that anything is noteworthy in his life. So it wasn't until I started speaking to people like Peter Gowdron and Som's mum and other people in Som's life who had some kind of influence. Like at the beginning, I didn't even know about these actors that were involved.
You have to read the book to find out who they are.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not giving it away, but you know, they're all pieces of the puzzle. And once I started piecing that together, I'm like, this is beyond my expectations for telling the story. And I'd then go back to Som and I'd say, what about this? You didn't tell me about this. And he'd be like, oh yeah, that happened.
No big deal.
No big deal. So yeah, I'm very grateful to everybody who gave me their time, who shared what they knew about Som, so I could kind of corroborate. And it's actually exciting for me. I've read parts of the book to people along the way, and Susan has learned things about Som she didn't know. Roz, who's been with Som and supporting through Friends of Himalayan Children, has learned things about Som she didn't know. And I guess that's the challenge as somebody who's doing a biography, is to actually unearth things about somebody's life. And of course, this is the first go for me. I've never done this before. So yeah, it was a big task to take on, and also a huge responsibility to get it right and to do justice to a life. Even though Som's only 40, he's had an incredibly big life already. So there's lots to fit in.
Would you believe this man, I learned this from the book, was a cage fighter. He used to get to a cage and fight for money. Can you believe that? And where did he send the money? Of course, it was for Nepal. He went into the ring to fight, to make money, to send back to Nepal. I was just gobsmacked by that one. So, but Susan made you give it up, didn't she? The fighting, I mean. Was that a condition?
Yeah, I suppose I got told by some bus driver or security guard, if you do a little bit of kickboxing, you get paid. So, and if you become really good, you're gonna get really good. So, all I was getting paid was just the food and transport and a little bit of money, but not really. It wasn't that big of a deal.
Oh, no.
Nothing is.
All right, well, let's go back to where we started, which was the earthquake. You went back as soon as you could. Just take us there. I mean, your dream was in rubble. It was in ruins. You know, just paint us that picture of what was going through your mind when you got back to Batasa and saw the terrible damage.
It's really hard to describe in words, but because of Kirsty has organized AVC crew to go travel together. So to get there, to go to the village, it was itself a challenge, because I arrived with a few camera people, journalists, and four-wheel drive, and myself, and in between the city and my village, we had a lot of hurdles because of the cameras, and so a lot of villagers thought we had lots of food for them, but also lots of villagers thought we're just coming to take advantage, take photos and videos, sell the story and make money. So it was a really challenging, and when I arrived in the village, yeah, it was pretty tough. So everybody in tears, and realized one missing brother and many other villagers, uncles and other aunties, and near dead one of the hostel children, which now has grown up, just about 18. So that's how it was.
And then you just had to start rebuilding again.
Yeah, talking about rebuilding, we were hoping to raise $10,000, but the Cairns community was just so kind. So it reached 10,000 within, I think, as soon as we said we're going to raise money, I think within 10 hours, I think we raised 10,000.
Wow.
Within 1 week, it was just close to 100,000. So during the earthquake, the support was just unbelievable. So we were not only able to help our hostel kids and our village, we started tapping into many, many other highly affected areas. So we started creating shelters at the school. We started giving lots of food. So first thing was arrived there and then came back. Second thing was went back with money. We bought the transport because of the demand on transport. There was no transport. And if you have no transport, you're not going to get any food. So, and we still use that transport to collect woods and build other shelters still now. So it was that effort.
So it makes it sound like it just happens. Oh, amazing. Now, Kirsty, you write in the book that volunteering in Batase was a life-changing, even life-saving experience for you personally. Do you mind sharing with us what was happening for you at that moment and why going to Nepal, made the start of your journey back to yourself, so to speak?
Yeah. So I've shared this story with many of you, but some of you will probably hear this for the first time. I wasn't in a very good place in 2016. I was the Chief of Staff at ABC at that point.
Know what that's like?
Yep. Fiona followed in my footsteps and is also no longer there. Susie is also an ABC casualty. No, it's a very good organisation. And Richard's going there tonight to do emergency broadcasting. Flying the flag. So, years of accumulated exposure to the trauma, murders, horrible things that people do to each other, car accidents, natural disasters. It had all sort of built up in me, and there were a couple of events that I had to cover towards the end of my time in the newsroom that were particularly horrific, and I started to notice changes in myself, and my mum, who's here tonight, definitely did, and my beautiful husband Sean and Leon, they were all there bearing witness to Kirsty sort of sliding away from herself, and it got to the point where I really didn't recognise myself. All my joy was lost, and I really didn't know what to do after that. It was pretty much the end for me. I don't know, that sounds dramatic, but that's where it got to. And I actually remember running into Susan on the Arrows, and she said, "You should go to the village, Kirsty, you should go to the village." And I'd been planning to, but I didn't know about the timing. And then I sat down with Som, and he said, "There are no mental health problems in Batase. Everyone just kind of goes there and it's healing and whatever." And I was like, right, I've got to try something. So the volunteering experience was organised. And Som wasn't there in the village the whole time. I think we crossed over by a couple of hours. I just went there all by myself. And it was daunting. And I didn't know how I was going to go, having been in such a fragile state. But and I know my mum was worried. But it did the trick. I found purpose again. There's nothing quite like finding the reason that you were put on the planet. And I found it in Batase. Walking to school with those kids every day, seeing how much they couldn't wait to get there to learn with dirt floors and tin walls because it took years for the school to be rebuilt. The enthusiasm they had and the fact that people have almost nothing but they'll share it with you. I was like, what are we doing? We just overcomplicate society, and I came back just reinvigorated and healed, and that was why this story it really spoke to me. I wanted it to be the project that kind of got me back there, so it was my way back to myself. So I have Som to thank for that, so thank you for giving me that opportunity to heal myself in Batassi and through this book.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Som, I don't think we can talk about your life without talking about Susan, your partner in life and love and everything in between. What has it meant to you to find someone, and I think you said to her when you first got together, life with me is not going to be easy, it's going to be different. What was it like to find someone who was prepared to share that life journey with you?
I don't know. It's another book. It's another book. I mean, I still feel sorry for Susan for being with me, but she has never given up, and we have 3 beautiful young kids and good singer, and 2 good boys. Always helps everything we do. So yeah, it's a tough one. It's not easy, and it's never ending. But at the same time, I would not be able to do what I do if it wasn't her at home too. So
now, over to you. Does anyone have a question? Very happy to take any questions that you might have. I know some of you have already read the book, and if you haven't read the book, you certainly know something of some story. So if anyone has a question.
Leon's got the roving mic.
I have a microphone if anyone has a question.
Any burning questions? Oh, yes. Oh, one down the front. And then one at the back.
My question is for Kirsty. What aspect of Som's remarkable journey touched you most?
I think it was knowing where, so the question was which aspect of Som's journey touched me the most, and I think it was finding out where he'd started. Like, having been to the village twice, it's pretty humble. It's an act of survival living there, even in this day and age. So you are basically living and working to feed yourself. It's a farming community. It's extremely impoverished. There's no shops. There's intermittent electricity. There's running water, but no guarantee of that being heated. There's tigers. There's snow in winter. It's a pretty harsh environment, and just finding out that Som survived all of this, and also just went into bat so early for his family. Like, as a young child, he was collecting berries and taking them hours away down the hill to sell them to get goods like bananas that were not available for his family. He raised enough money doing this to buy his own school uniform, knowing that his parents couldn't afford the uniform. His dad didn't want to send him to school. He wanted him to farm. His mum said no, he needs to go to school. So it was that, I think, that determination, that fight, which is a real theme in the book. He's a fighter. He's fought his whole life for change. And for someone to come from a place where they're not born with privilege or anything that we would normally think is a bare minimum, and to have achieved everything that he has, that's really what burned inside of me, to go, wow, what an inspirational person. And he would never talk about himself in that way.
No.
Well, here we are sitting in Cairns in the German club, which is a long way from your village. How did you come to Cairns?
I have to read the book.
I'll go with Kirsty's answer. You will have to read the book.
Suffice to say that Som has actually been here longer than I have. I've been here 13 years, and Som just clocked up 20 years. So he's a very big
And
part of
the
the community?
20, I remember very clearly, 24th of September 2003. It was just like yesterday. I came prepared. I thought I was going to go in a very cold country. I had the jeans, leather jacket, and a boot, trekking boot. And I came out, and ever since the life changed. But it will give you full detail in the book.
Let's
But-
just say it did involve a woman.
The next 10 years, Som, you've done so much already. Tell us a little bit about your plans for the next decade.
Oh gosh, how long have you got? The school.
What are the next 10 years look like for Som?
Well, after COVID, it's been tough for everyone in this room, and same for my family. Charity, fully volunteered all the time. My family or myself here, we never have draw any pay from the charity. Fully, all committee members, we committed volunteers. Aside from that, taking Nepal people to Nepal, and Kirsty was one, as in the book. And I also have a little shop at the pier. After that, I had to take a full-time job. I worked as a youth worker. I cared for many young children in care homes, and I just quit. I have no job from last Friday because I needed something new challenge, and that challenge is something that I wouldn't say right now, which you will know. But my biggest project for next 10 years, many people always argued that I would never be able to register charity in Australia, and with the community and positive-minded people and support, I was able to. And those people who said that it's too hard, don't even try. And it's still going now is nearly 17 years of charity. And same in Nepal, they said you can register, we have registration. And the school was a battle. From grade 3 to 5 is a battle, 5 to 8 is a battle. The 8 to 10 now, which was the high school standard in Nepal 5 years ago, that was a battle. Needed to play in every role, needed to make every networking, needed to find people in every corner and places to make it happen. So we have a grade 10, fully functioning, close to 300 students. The book will tell you how much student it was when I left the school. So now I say every year, that's enough now. I want to get out of it. The community will deal it in Batasi, where I come from. The now young generation, but each year the project keep going. So we have beautiful Rita here. So her committee at Rotary Sunrise and Rotary International Club has become collaboration since last year. So the dream of ours is to complete grade 11 and 12, which is the new rule in Nepal in last 5 years to be a high school. So I think it might take 10 years. It might complete between 3 to 5 years. But I think that's my next goal in regards to education for my village.
Fantastic. One final question, Richard.
Okay, Kirsty, many years, many life-changing adventures. One day you've written a book, many drafts, it's a book. But then you come up against the reality of the contracting publishing industry, where unless it's a bestseller, the answer is no. How did you two sustain yourselves, your commitment to doing this through that time? And how did you eventually get it published?
Great question. It took a lot of stamina. Like, as a journalist, you're used to instant gratification, right? You go to work and you write a bunch of stories every day, and you see them go to air, and that's it. And then you have the next day. But a book isn't like that. and I'd never done it before. So I knew it was going to be very challenging, but it took a long time. Like 2016 was when I had the thought I would like to write Som's story. And where are we now? 2024. So it's a 7.5 year commitment that I've made so far. Lots of weekends missed, lots of family things missed. I couldn't have done this without my mum supporting me, and my beautiful friends, my beautiful business partner Susie, who's been very patient. Sean and Leon, they've just been rocks for me, particularly Sean. You know, he was there at night, sort of coming in at 9:30 going, do you think that's probably enough for the day? And then of course there were all the mornings that I got inspiration and it was 4:30 on a Sunday, and you just have to go with it because it's not something that you can force. You've got to be in the flow, and it's a long commitment, and it was hard. Like, I had a lot of self-doubt along the way. I've never done this before. I was like, is anyone going to read this thing? I believed in the story. That's what I guess kept me going. I had the belief in this story, and only recently the belief in myself. And yes, it did take a long time, and I had the lovely Rita at Leslie Van Sterven's book launch. I remember going there and supporting her launch a few years ago, and I started talking to Rita Zapula about this book that I was writing, and she became very interested, and then she has been on my back for the last few years to get this book out, and she really wanted me to independently publish. But I had to have a go at trying to get a traditional publisher, and I was warned how hard it would be, and it was hard. I wrote to more than 30 publishers. They all had wonderful things to say about Som and his story and the writing, but they all said no. So here I was, I finished the book. It's this huge thing, and I finished it more than 2 years ago, and then no celebration, nothing, just more self-doubt. Until
fairy godmother.
Until at the end of August last year, I got an email, and it said something like, I'm really interested in your book, where can I get a copy? And I said, I kind of checked the name, and I was like, I don't know who this person is, but thank you for your interest. Unfortunately, I haven't got it published yet, and I can't really afford to self-publish it. So please follow me, and you'll find out when the book is finally available. And this beautiful stranger, who I met about 2 hours ago, finally face to face, said, I will send you the money so you can make this book happen. So, Elizabeth McLean is the reason we are all sitting here tonight at this particular time, because it would have been on the never never, really. So just one selfless gesture, someone who showed some belief in me without having ever met me, just because she came across an interview that Som and I had done on the ABC last year at the Cairns Tropical Writers Festival, decided she wanted to read this book so much that she was going to help make it happen for us. So I really thank you. It's an honour to meet you, to have you here tonight and to celebrate with you. And of course, I couldn't actually get the book out without some assistance, and the wonderful Dr. Juliette Lackmeyer from the Erudite Pen. I knew her reputation from some of the authors who I had helped support with getting their media releases done, and she sat quietly on the sidelines, never sort of pushing that I should publish this book independently. But when I finally had the means to, I knew exactly who was going to get this book out, and she has done an amazing job with it. She's been so patient. She has really helped me through some tough times in the past few months, and I think you'll all agree when you see it and when you read it that it is the best it can possibly be, and that is largely thanks to her wonderful expertise. So thank you. And of course, I have to also give thanks to another beautiful gesture that started this process, and that is the Cairns Regional Council and the Queensland Government, through the Regional Arts Development Fund, actually gave me a $10,000 grant to help me when I was starting to write this book. And it was actually that little nugget that really sort of reinforced that I was supposed to write this book at that time. It had already been a few years, and Sean and I were trying to make provisions to get myself to write this book, and it was Sean that actually said to me, if you don't step out of the workforce for a while, this book is never going to be written. So we started squirreling a bit more money away so that I could do that, so take sort of some time out. And then that grant happened, and I was like, all right, the timing is right now, we can actually make this happen. So thank you so much also to the Cairns Regional Council and the Queensland Government, and to Rita for all of her moral support and bravery. So we do have a little presentation for Elizabeth to say thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, I would like to say thank you to Som and Kirsty. Thank you for sharing your remarkable journey with the world, Som.
Thank you to you and Kirsty. I didn't do much. So without Kirsty, it wouldn't be the book. So.
And Kirsty, thank you. You made it very easy, and I think you're an inspiration.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So thank you. Here's some books for you.
Wow. Just 10.
So please thank Som and Kirsty one more time for the amazing